Hello everyone, this is Victor from the Modern Gafa, and here are all of the books and comics that I read in January 2018. First up I have the Spiderwick Chronicles. I read Volume 1 last year, not Volume 1, Book 1. And I didn't realize that it was like serialized and there was like very little story in each book, so I waited until I owned all four. They're really good. They're a super middle grade, very simple story, kind of kids' introduction to like higher fairy lore with things like goblins and stuff. I watched the movie in college. I thought it was cool. I thought it was good. The books are very different. There's like an entire subplot that's not in the movie with dwarves. But it's cool. There's the Seeing Stone, the Lucinda's Secret, the Ironwood Tree, and the Wrath of Mulgarath. Next up is You're Never Weird on the Internet by Felicia Day. This was Katrina's Christmas present to me. It's Felicia Day's memoir. It goes through her childhood being a weirdo homeschooled kid to getting into gaming, and then she goes to college and she studies music and math, and then goes in to become an actor, and then creates the guild, and then becomes the most adorable internet celebrity ever. It's really, really good. This is like one of my favorite books of all time now. If you think you're weird, then you need to read this book, because A, it'll tell you being weird is normal, and B, Felicia Day had the weirdest childhood you could possibly imagine. And also if you are interested in kind of creating content like writing a novel or specifically making a web series, it's not quite Rebel Without a Crew level of a book you could read and be your film school, but it still like gets really in depth with the whole how she made the guild and everything. Check it out. I read one manga this month. It's called Fire Punch. It is a post-apocalyptic series. It is really weird. It's about mutant people who have different powers, and the main guy can regenerate, and somebody sets him on fire with fire powers. And their fire powers never extinguish unless they run out of fuel. And since he is regenerating, his body never runs out of fuel, so he kind of creates flames forever, and he becomes engulfed in flames. It's the definition of dark. When people say, oh, Digimon is dark because there's divorced kids in it or whatever, you have not seen Dark until you've read Fire Punch. Check it out. Viewer discretion advised. Now on to comics, which I guess Fire Punch was a comic. Elektra the Hand. I picked this up at New York Comic Con. Finally got around to it this month. It's really just the Hand cameo by Elektra. She's in like the first page and the last page, and in between are 5 issues of the Hand origin story that have nothing to do with her. They take place in feudal Japan. It's a really good story. It's a really good, samurai kind of Kurosawa type, almost, Tarantino samurai story. But, yeah, Elektra isn't in it. So if you're an Elektra fan, don't read this. I mean, it's a good, the Hand story, but it's not an Elektra comic, but it's really good. The next 3 are books that I ordered online. They're the 3 main series that I've been waiting for trades. Although after this, it'll probably just be 2. Spoilers, you'll find out why. First up is Ms. Marvel Volume 8. The first chunk of the story is what Ms. Marvel does great. She doesn't have, like, classic Spider-Man type Batman supervillain rogue gallery. She just kind of deals with various social issues like gentrification and gerrymandering. This time, it's locking up Inhumans. Inhumans? Was it Inhumans? It's been a while since I've read this. But that stuff's really good. And then the last chapter is her dealing with a slow disaster, a train that is going to eventually one day, not one day, but like down the road after like a few hours, crash and stuff. But they can't stop it because of whatever reason. So, yeah, it's like they're just kind of very slowly trying to stop this train from causing a catastrophe. It's great. Ms. Marvel is always great. Volume 7 was a little kind of but Volume 8, it got better. Spider-Man, Volume 3, Miles Morales. Gold Balls makes his superhero debut in Miles Morales. He was introduced in Volume 1, I think. Volume 1, Volume 2. But he's just kind of a student at their school, and he does some X-Manning this time and puts on the suit and he shoots gold balls. Other things happen in it. I don't remember. Again, it's been a while since I read this one. But Gold Balls does some gold balling. Let's see. I just opened up to the Gold Balls page, so I don't remember what Miles is up to. But Miles is always cool. Oh, his mom finds out that he's Spider-Man in this one, so that's pretty cool. Check it out. Champions Volume 2. Probably the last Champions volume I will get, unless I'm convinced otherwise. The first Champions, each chapter was kind of like a standalone Teen Titans episode, just kind of one-off little adventure type thing. This one, every chapter is like related to another Marvel plot that is not explained in this at all. The end of Champions Volume 1 is like a cliffhanger, and in this one, they don't acknowledge that. Instead, they acknowledge these other characters, the freelancers, who I have no idea where they came from. There's one where Ms. Marvel is missing, and they're looking for her, and they don't find her in the end. And at the end, in the next issue, she's there, and I'm like, what happened? Vision gets grounded at the end of one chapter, and in the next page, she's hanging out with them, so what happened there? I don't know. Champions, I love the characters, love the cast, their interactions are great, but their overall story is just a convoluted mess that I don't actually understand. I want to give it another chance, but I don't know. Especially because I didn't like Volume 1 the first time I read it. I had to reread it. Maybe I'll reread this and like it more, but I don't know. The next 4 books are books that I got when one of the local Pittsburgh comic shops had a closing sale, which is sad. But they had like a buy 4 trades, or buy 3 get 1 free, that kind of thing. First up is Daredevil Volume 1, Devil at Bay. I was apprehensive about a Daredevil comic, even though I like the character, because the whole Hell's Kitchen universe is kind of dark and not my cup of tea. But look at how colorful this is, guys. It is just so bright, and that's a bad example. It's just so bright and lovely, and I just love it. Devil at Bay sees Matt Murdock, who's been recently outed. Everybody knows who he is as Daredevil. He moves to San Francisco, and he gets some Daredevil going on down there. They really do the blind thing very well. They really go into the kinds of powers and abilities he has from his heightened senses, while also making some really good blind jokes and referencing things like, he's not good with traffic signs because he can't see, but he can, feel the universe with, sound and vibrations and stuff. Silk, Volume 1. Oh my god, guys. Silk, the review on here says it's your new favorite superhero, and yeah, I think this might be on my list of things to wait and trade now. It's so much fun. Silk is a character who is bit by the same spider as Peter Parker, and she is moonlighting as a supervillain. She's still a good guy, but she's undercover working for S.H.I.E.L.D., pretending to work for Black Cat. And what's the best part is that she works for J. Jonah Jameson, who, in the reverse of his relationship with Peter, she is actually... she's a good guy pretending to be a bad guy, so she needs the bad guy rep. But J. Jonah Jameson thinks Silk is like the greatest superhero ever. So he keeps running stories that, like, she fake fights Mockingbird at one point, and he thinks Mockingbird has gone evil and is attacking the great hero that is Silk. And she's like, come on, man, I'm trying to make myself look bad here. It's great. I love Silk. I really need to pick up Volume 2. Captain Marvel, Volume 1. This is post-Rebirth, so it's not the origin story of Captain Marvel, but, Ms. Marvel becomes Captain Marvel. What do you need to know? Here she joins Alpha Flight, which is a Canadian super team that has now gone into space. It's like her first mission. She thought she was going to be there to be like a cool battle general, but it's more of a desk job, and she's upset, and things go crazy. It's not quite Cosmic Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's still not Earth because she's just kind of floating in the orbit above the Earth. I can't describe it, but it's a really, really good sci-fi story. Speaking of sci-fi, Nova Volume 1. So Katrina's the one who picked this out. I don't really typically go for Cosmic Marvel, and from the Champions team, Nova was the least interesting, but in his actual book, Nova is amazingly interesting. For one thing, apparently he's like Hispanic. His mom speaks Spanish and calls him Samuel Alejandro, so that's plus points for that. It's just really good, really beautiful. His father-son story is great. His dad used to be a Nova, and he would tell them the kids stories about Nova adventures, and he wouldn't believe them because who would, you know? One thing I really like is a lot of trades have trouble fixing in like the covers, like do they make chapter pages or whatever. So this one in between each issue is this super cool, beautiful two-page cover title thing. I really like it. The artwork especially is just so good. It's really just bright and colorful and a lot of blues and stuff. Very good. Highly recommend. And lastly, there are some books that I read on Hoopla, which is an app that lets you read books and comics through your local library for free. You get so many a month depending on your library. I get 10. I'm going to talk about 5 today. There were 2 that I read that I didn't quite like, and a few that I've saved for the carryover, so a few that I haven't gotten to yet. First is Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 1. So good. Oh my god. It's just really great. The opening is Korra and Asami's honeymoon in the spirit world, and then it gets really deep into the kind of social political issues that the other Avatar comics are known for. I also read Ant-Man Volume 1, Second Chance Man. It reminds you a lot of the Daredevil. It's kind of fun and goofy, but of course it's Ant-Man. And so with the new movie, they've kind of acknowledged how freaking ridiculous he is. So here Ant-Man moves to Miami to be with his ex-wife and daughter. And he opens up like a business, like a security business, because he used to be a thief. So he's like, hey, I'll teach you how to not get your stuff stolen. And he hires like ex-supervillains to help him out. It's just really ridiculous and weird, and I love it. You should check it out. Super Sons. Oh my god, Super Sons. Last year, one of my favorite discoveries in comics was Damian Wayne, the new Robin, son of Batman. Super Sons is Damian Wayne, Robin, teaming up with the new Superboy, who is Jonathan Kent, son of Superman and Lois Lane. And their relationship is amazing. Damian just kind of drags him along to have like a patsy, and the whole time Jonathan's like, oh, we're gonna get in trouble, and Damian's like, shut up. It's really great. There's this whole bit that Jonathan is jealous that he wasn't invited to join the new Teen Titans, and Damian keeps reminding him, you're 10, so you're technically not a teenager yet. I love it. They're both amazing. Now I kind of want to read Superboy books. He's in some Superman stories, but I can't read Superman. That's not going to happen. Sorry. Next up, I read Civil War 2. I liked it. I like seeing the AAA, all the big names like Iron Man and the Hulk and stuff in a story because we haven't seen them a lot recently because they're all dead. It feels like the Civil War movie where what's great about original Civil War is that it's a war. Like there's multiple frontline battles and casualties and stuff. And the movie kind of boiled it down to one big battle in the middle and a bunch of personal conflicts. Like in the original series, it was who agrees with registration and who doesn't. And the new one, it's kind of, Carol agrees with this, Tony doesn't, and everyone is just kind of joining their friends. Most of Carol's team is just her friends. It's Alpha Flight, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's all the space people. And all of Tony's teammates are just the Avengers and some X-Men and stuff, and that's pretty much it. One thing I didn't like about Miles Morales Volume 2 is that it's the Civil War story, and because he's such a main character in Civil War, his issues are kind of a lot of just describing what's happening in the other stories, and it's very complicated, so it's nice to read the main Civil War story and get the whole picture. Speaking of the big name heroes that we haven't seen in a while, I read House of M, which stars all of the people that were big main characters when I first got into comics. I got really deep into comics last year, about 10 years ago, around the time Civil War started, the first Civil War. My brother was into comics, like super hardcore, and I would read his comics. And that was in the days when Luke Cage was a new Avenger. Whatchamacallit, Spider-Woman was a big deal back then. I guess they were kind of secretly setting her up for being a big deal in the Secret Invasion. Also, all of the X-Men in this are the X-Men from the Joss Whedon era, because that's what was going on at the time. So yeah, it's really amazing to see those characters again. Also, House of M is just amazing. If you don't know, it's a story where Scarlet Witch goes crazy and rewrites reality, so mutants are the dominant species, and everyone's lives are changed. They all basically have their dreams come true. Wolverine is a high-ranking agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Peter Parker is married to Mary Jane, and they have a kid. Not Mary Jane. Peter Parker is married to Gwen Stacy, and both his aunt and uncle are alive. I guess his aunt wasn't dead at the time. Is she dead right now? I don't know. Comics are confused. So that's it. Those are books I bought, books I read, books I downloaded on Hoopla, the greatest app ever. Check it out. I highly recommend all of the books I talked about today. Yeah, let me know in the comments down below what kind of books you read in January, what you're reading right now. I am all about recommendations. I'm looking for more stuff to read all the time. So yeah, don't forget to like, comment, rate, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys on the next video.